No one's talking just yet.
Apologies, I don't recognize everyone's names. Mahmuda, if you're here and I just don't recognize the name on the screen, can you maybe pop in video or just let us know that you're here? Because I know that you wanted to say a couple words as well. So I just want to make sure we don't forget you. Oh, great. Mahmuda, you're there. Are you all set?
Yes, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Perfect, thank you. So just a reminder to everyone who's recently joined, the session is now being recorded. So we are on video, and whatever we say will be recorded for those that are watching afterwards. Kina, I think we can probably get started.
Great.
I will just get my, oh no, we're good, I think. Okay. So just before we get started, I'd like to introduce the artist today, Christina Forney, or as we know her, as Kina, and we're very excited to be making a snowman with her today.
Yeah.
And I think I will let Kina go over the different things that are needed for that, but please don't be shy to raise your hand if we're going too fast. And again, a reminder that everyone will have the session afterwards if people or our littles fall a little bit too behind, because I know there is an age range participating, and I'm really sorry about my daughter. So my name's Andrea. I'm chair of Parent Council, and so on behalf of my co-chair Heather, as well as all of Parent Council, I would just like to welcome everyone who's joined us today and those who will join us at a later date. So I just want to thank everyone for registering. As life continues to be turned upside down, we're really happy for at the positive turnout. This is the second year doing it, and we're really glad that people are still offering positive feedback to the event. These types of events, not only do they build school spirit and family togetherness, but they also allow us as council to raise money and support for things for school improvements, but also to buy classroom materials and enhance our children's school experiences. Money raised at these types of events and our yearly fundraisers help us as council to purchase student agendas, the grade 4 Bibles, We fund the different some of the graduation activities that go on for the grade 6s. This year, we also hope to support a new initiative at the school, which will be, I guess, more information will come out in the new year. But the social entrepreneur program, we also continue to work towards building up the schoolyard. And we know that there are always a lot of expenses around this time of year, and now that we're back in person, there are certainly a lot more school expenses than there were in the last year. But really, the only way that we can achieve these goals and we can continue to better our children's school experiences is with your support. So those that have registered, we really appreciate it, and you know, we hope that you will continue to support the different initiatives that present themselves throughout the year as well. And just so for this particular event, I would like to highlight a very special organization. No, it's Human Concern International, and they've generously sponsored this year's paint event. So I would like to extend my most sincere gratitude. Council would like to extend their most sincere gratitude, and I'd like to invite Mahmouda Khan, who's the executive director of the organization, to say a few words, and then after that we'll play a very quick video that explains a little bit more, I think, what the organization does. So, Mahmouda, I will pass the microphone over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's actually a privilege for us to take part in such event because, you know, our kids are our future and they're very important. So, Andrea, if you don't mind, can we request you to play the video first, and I'll just speak for 30 seconds after that, right? Thank you.
For sure. Give me 2 seconds to just put that up here.
Well, what would you like to know about me? I'm in 3rd grade, and my favorite class is math. At recess, I like to play tag and jump up with my best friend. When school is over, my mom picks me up, and we walk home together. I love coming back home. It's so big, and all my toys live here. At dinner, Mom always wants me to finish my veggies. Yuck. I'll have the chocolate milk for dinner, please. When Dad gets home, he helps me with my homework. He reads me the Quran before bedtime, and he even checks under my bed for monsters. He is my hero. How about you? Tell me something about you.
Thank you so much, Andrea, and thank you, Divine Infant School's Parents Council, the student, the teachers, the parents, everyone who made this possible, and giving us the opportunity to speak briefly about Human Concern International. We are an international charity organization working in about 50 countries, and if there's one thing that I really would like you guys to take away from this video is gratitude. You know, we have so much in our life to be grateful for. Your school, your teachers, your parents, they're all working so hard for your bright future, which many kids don't have the opportunity for. So every day, please wake up with, saying thank you to your parents and teacher. Go to God, of course, our creator. Go to bed with that feeling of gratitude, gratefulness in your heart. And if possible, to all the parents and children, what we would encourage, we have a generous junior club where we encourage our the members of the Generous Junior Club to become part of giving, making giving part of their life as a way to show gratitude in order to help other people, other children around the world who doesn't have the privileges that we do. So if what we do in that club is that parents, they encourage their kids, go to your neighbor, maybe bake cookie, give to your, so we have different activities like that, or clean your neighbor's yard, or let's go to the community park and clean up. So we do these sort of activities throughout the year. And another aspect of the Generous Junior Club, which I would really hope our students at Divine Infant School sort of, hopefully could make a part of their life, is anytime you do something that's rewarding, take 25 cents, 50 cents, dollar, have an agreement with your parents. Every time I do a chore, at the end of the week, can I have $1? And you put that away in a piggy bank. And if you want, we have really nice boxes. We could even send it to your home. We could drop it off at the office. So at the end of the week, you sit with your parents and how many good deeds did I do? How much can you give me for all my, rewarding, the chores and rewarding acts that I did? And you put that, in your piggy bank on Friday or Saturday of every day, and you make that intention. This is going to be for one of my orphan friend or children friend in Syria, in Palestine, in Somalia, in Yemen, it could be anywhere in the world. At the end of the year, so in April or May, you could drop it off at your school, or you could, talk to the parents' council. Let's say as a school, if we come together as $100, $200, we could actually sponsor an orphan with that money. It takes $360 for the year to sponsor an orphan. So what Human Concern would do, if you guys want to, there's no, this is just a proposal, it's an idea, and you want to put together $1 a week or so in a piggy bank, and the school together collectively comes up with a fund. If it's 200, then HCI will put the rest of the 160. And what we'll do, we will assign a child as your friend, as a friend of the school. We will put it on a frame with the picture of the orphan that the school will be sponsoring. We'll bring it to the school. It will be at the office, so you could all see, and this will become your friend that will send you drawing for the school that you could write to or send drawings to. So this is a Generous Junior Club that we have done across many schools, and it's just a proposal and an idea for you guys if you want to make this friendship with an orphan somewhere else in the world. And also it's rewarding and it's encouraging to do good deeds, good acts. So if not anything else, just one takeaway, and only one takeaway, is gratitudeness, gratefulness. Your parents, your school, your teachers, everybody's working so hard. Your future means so much to us, and we are always praying and hoping for your bright future. So always pray and always be gratitude to God and your parents and your teachers. Thank you so much. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mahmuda. That sounds like a great initiative, and maybe we can talk about it a little further, but definitely I think some of us might be interested in helping in some way, shape, or form. So thank you very much for that. And again, we're very appreciative. I don't want to take up everyone else's time because I know my 7-year-old is very excited to start painting. So I think probably others are as well. I just want to remind everyone to stick around to the end because we've entered everybody's email addresses into a door prize, into a draw. So, and we will have 3 door prizes at the end. So I will just pop on at the end, and we'll pull the names, and then we will contact the winners. So, without further ado, Kina, I will leave the floor to you. And I know you mentioned cameras on, cameras off. So we typically do cameras off, but it's entirely up to you as the artist how you want to manage that. So everybody have a great time, and let's get painting.
Yay, we can.
Awesome. Thank you so much, you guys. You excited? You don't have to put on your sound for that, but I assume you're all cheering. So my name is Kina. I'm an artist. I'm a full-time painter, and I teach. I teach at the Ottawa School of Art. I teach drawing for kids, and adults too sometimes if they want to learn how to draw. And today we're going to be going through how to paint this snowman. Now I have 2 very different views, one for when I'm talking to you, all right? And then the other one, I have this super fancy camera setup, which works usually. There we go. So this is all my stuff, okay? So this is my setup. So let's go through everything we have today, all right? So at the bottom underneath me, that's the snowman we're gonna paint today, all right? So he's this big happy snowman. We've got a blue background. We have a scarf and a hat, and he's really awesome. He's ready for winter. And all right, so today what you're going to need to follow along with me is a canvas or a big piece of paper. If you don't have a canvas at home, you can also use just giant paper, whatever will hold.
Can I just pop in for 2 seconds?
Yes.
I think a lot of the kids are familiar with this, but we haven't done virtual, thankfully, for a couple months now. If you want to click on the 3 dots on Kina's on Kina's picture, you can pin her to your screen so that you'll be able to see her nice and big. My daughter reminded me of that. So we've just done that. So if anyone wants to do that, it'll probably make everyone a lot easier. You can also do speaker view, and that will also put her full screen on your screen while she's talking.
Yeah,
Sorry
it's perfect. I totally forgot that part. So yeah, please do make my screen the biggest so I'm not this teeny tiny square on your screen, okay? So that you can see what I'm doing. So if anyone has any problems with that, please just let us know. Make sure that my screen is nice and big so you can see. Especially we want to be able to see my canvas, right? And the picture underneath me. So that's what we're painting at the end, or that's what we're working towards. So all of you guys will need something to paint on, ideally a canvas or something similar. I have at least, well, I have a few brushes, but typically when I'm teaching, I always use a big brush. So make sure you have a big brush nearby, and that's how we're gonna fill in large areas of color. You're going to need a medium brush, which is just for, you know, middle-sized things. And then a small brush here. And the small brush is going to be for doing little details like snowflakes, eyes, the little pebbles for his mouth, stuff like that, all right? So that covers what we're using. Make sure you have some water nearby. Okay, this is to wash your brushes with, and something to dry your brushes with. You can use a paper towel, Kleenex, or I'm using a small dishcloth here that is made for paint. Make sure it's something that's made for paint, okay? So don't go using your mom's favorite, you know, hand towels in the bathroom or something. We will need, as far as paint goes, whenever I teach art, I try to stick to the primary colors, and any colors that we need that are extra, we're going to learn how to mix them ourselves, okay? It's not hard, don't worry. So today we're going to need blue, right? Any kind of blue. I have a ton of different types of blue paint at home, but today I have cobalt blue, but if it says something else, that's okay, as long as it looks blue to you. And we're going to be using yellow as well. Okay, so blue, yellow, and again, I'm using acrylic paints today. This probably wouldn't work with watercolors, but it probably would work with gouache, but ideally acrylic paints are best. It dries fast, it's easy to clean up while it's still wet, but please don't get it on your clothes, okay? If you get it on your clothes, make sure, if you think you might get it on your clothes, make sure you put on an apron, or even a bib. Might seem silly, but like something on your lap or something to cover. Just for parents to note, acrylic paint is permanent once dried. It's extra permanent once it's dried and thrown in the dryer. So if you want to get it before it's permanent, just wash it out with warm soapy water when it's still fresh. Within the first couple hours, like even within the first hour or so, it's fine. So if you notice after today's activity that there's a bit of a mess on your clothes or on something that you don't want paint on, just warm soapy water ought to do it. Let's see, we have red and white paint as well, and then I added on at the end for black paint. But if you don't have black paint, I can teach you a little trick how to make black, but we'll get to that I'll get to that when we get to the part that needs black paint. All right, so red, blue, yellow, black, and white. So those are primary colors plus our shades. So I don't want you to put all of the colors out right now, okay? We're going to be starting with blue. And today you can use a paper plate, a regular plate. If you have a palette, that's also great, but you don't need a palette. A palette is just a fancy word for a surface that holds paint, okay? That you mix paint on. This is what my palette looks like. It's a piece of plastic that's made to be a palette. I got it at the dollar store, super easy. And then this is my water brush tub, and I use this because it doesn't look like my drinking cup, okay? So you don't want to be drinking paint water. That's why when we use water nearby, make sure it's something that you wouldn't normally drink from, okay? So you don't accidentally take a sip of your paint water. All right, I think we're all set. So we have our water. I have these little Menchie spoons. You're gonna see me use them. I use these because I buy so much paint. And because I paint almost every day, I buy paint in these big, big tubs, right? So that's why I need these spoons. So if you see me use these spoons, don't worry, you don't need them. It's just because that's what I use to scoop out my paint. Except for my blue. This is a nice squeezy bottle, so this is easy. All right, so now we're gonna start painting. All right, this is the best part. This is what you guys have been waiting for the past 20 minutes, I'm sure. So take your blue paint, and we're gonna need a fair amount of it. So I'm gonna put, you guys should be able to see my palette, yep. I'm going to put about a circle that's as big as, say, a toonie, about a tablespoon of blue paint on my palette. I'm gonna close it, put it away. Now, we only use one color at a time because acrylic paints actually dry very quickly, right? So if we put all of our colors out all at once, by the time we get to those other colors, it might actually start to dry on our plate. So we don't want that. Okay, I feel like there was something I meant to add on to that, but I can't remember what I was gonna say, so let's just go for it. Now, the first thing we're going to do is I'm gonna grab my medium brush, and my medium brush is about the width of my pinky nail. It's not very big, and this is going to be, it doesn't matter if it's round or flat, but just to let you know that mine, it seems to be a bit dirty from the last time I was painting a couple days ago. Anyway, so my brush, this is a flat rounded brush, okay? Just giving you some background. If yours looks a bit different, yours might look more like a pointy brush like this, and that's also okay. As long as it gets paint from your palette to the canvas, it's good. So to start the snowman, we're going to need to paint some circles. And I know circles can be challenging for some people. Well, for me too, actually. Painting circles is tricky. So if you look at your canvas and you're like, okay, I want my snowman to be, we want the head to be around here. Okay, this is like, if you take your halfway of your canvas and half again, the head is gonna be in the top quarter. Okay, so it's like the top section, sort of in the middle, but slightly to the left. So if you're not comfortable painting circles, I would recommend that you get a cup or maybe a lid or a mug to trace the circle of the snowman's head. And this is handy. I'm not going to use that myself, but I want to let you know that using tools is super duper okay. You use whatever makes it easier for you to make your painting, all right? So I'm taking my medium brush and I'm dipping it in my paint. Now what's important when you're painting is that this is, pretend, it might not be the case, but pretend that this is all the blue we have today, all right? Pretend that this big blob of blue is all you got. So make sure you have enough. What we don't want is to be mixing all of our colors into this blue because we're gonna need to save this when we need to use blue later, such as when we're mixing green and stuff. So when I grab my blue paint on my brush, I do it close, kind of off to the side. Okay, I'm pulling it off to the side, and this is so that I can keep this original blue still kind of intact, okay? And now we're gonna paint. I know, there's so many things before we actually get to start painting, but here we go. So I'm gonna say sometimes I kind of pretend paint where I'm gonna go first just to get an idea. So the head of the snowman is maybe about the size of, I'd say, your fist, maybe a bit smaller. And again, it's on the left over here. So I'm gonna paint a circle here. Now I have lots of practice painting circles, okay, you guys? So if your circle isn't perfect, that's okay, because whenever there's a mistake in painting, you can just paint over it. It's super duper normal. I paint over things all the time. If you're having trouble making a circle, one way you can do it is know where you want to do the top and do a dot at the top. And actually, I'll give you a sample here on my sketchbook just because, since I've already done my circle. So if you're having trouble with the circle, do a dot on top, a dot where you want the bottom, so at least you know how tall your circle's gonna be, and another dot on the left-hand side, roughly around there, so that it would be a half circle, and then another dot here. So you can kind of picture a little cross here, and then you can do other dots between them, and then it's just a matter of connecting the dots, okay? Just like that. All right? It's okay that there are dots. You know why? Because we're going to be painting the background, and we're going to touch up the inside with our white paint later. Yep, that's a great cup circle to trace. Yeah, I can see that. If you guys want, yeah, you can trace. I have my water bottle here. I could probably trace that, but my circle is looking pretty okay. Just like that. All right. Now, as you know, snowmen or snow people are usually at least 3 boulders high. So this one is actually our smallest one. That's why I said only maybe the size of your fist, okay? So we're gonna be doing a middle one and then a big one for the body. We're gonna actually have it go off of the page, and what that's gonna do is it's gonna let us do lots of other details too. And we're working what's called the composition of the painting. Composition is a fancy word for where things are going in your picture, okay? It makes it more interesting to look at if some things are off to the side, because then we can add other details too. All right, so once everyone has their first circle with blue, okay, the reason we're using blue is because what would happen if you painted white on the white canvas, right? You probably wouldn't see it. You might see it if your white is a slightly different shade, but for now we're using blue because after that we're gonna do the background. So dipping my brush back in the paint, I'm gonna try to do the circle, the boulder underneath, okay? His torso, his middle body. For now I'm saying it's a he. I'm just gonna say my snowman is a he for today. All right, so now I'm kind of doing where I want the next circle to start. So I'm doing a little line on the left-hand side, kind of like a little kickstand on my circle here. And I'm doing another one here. And that's gonna be like his neck, all right? That's where the circle underneath him is gonna start. You don't wanna do a circle underneath him because that would be kind of impossible. Your snowman head needs to rest on something, you know? So instead of doing a snowman, like here's the original I did here. Look, snowman everywhere. Instead of doing the snowman where the circles are barely touching, where it looks like a number 8, we're gonna settle it in so that it looks like the head is actually sitting on the body. Okay, so I'm grabbing the paint again, just because I kind of ran out while I was talking. It was starting to dry. You don't need to use any water right now, okay? No water. We're just using paint and our brush. And I think I want the bottom of his torso to be around, want it bigger. So this would be around the same size, but I want it slightly bigger. So I'm gonna put a little dot there. And if you're not sure where you want to put your dot, you can use your hand to measure. Okay, that's the height of the head, and I'm just gonna slide my hand down. All right, and this would be the height of the head again, and we're gonna make it a little lower than that. So we know that our middle body is bigger than the head, okay? So I know where I want it to start, and I know where the bottom is gonna be. So now I'm gonna say, if it's a circle, I want it to come out about to here and to there. And if you're not sure, again, you can trace a circle that's a little bit bigger, or like the trick that I do again is to have my hand and I grab an imaginary disc here, and then I can turn my hand around the middle, and it's about that wide, okay? Actually, every time you turn it around the middle, you'll kind of get the dotted line where your circle would go. So again, our circle, you have to imagine as if the top of it is going through the bottom of the head, because the head is snug sitting on the torso. We want the head to have somewhere to rest, okay? And then we fill in the second circle. Again, if your circle's super wonky and you don't like it, it's okay. You can paint over it. You can say, here, I'll make my circle kind of pretend that I did it too narrow here, okay? Oops, that's a mistake. That's okay. I'm just gonna go further out and make it where I want it to go, because later on we can cover this with white paint, okay? That's why I asked you guys to have white paint, because our snowman, everybody makes mistakes. So that's the mistake line for me. I'm like, ew, it's gross. It's not gross, it's just a little bit to the left. We want a circle. All right, so we have a head and a torso. Now we're gonna do his bottom, right? So the same thing again. We want to make a little kickstand on the bottom left. So that's where one side will come out. Another little kickstand on the right. It looks like tiny little feet. He looks kind of funny. And then we're gonna do the same thing. And this time it's a bit easier because we're just doing a curved line all the way to the bottom of the canvas, like that. Just a curved line. If you're stuck, don't worry. Does someone have a question? Oh, if you want to ask a question, you can unmute and just ask it. It's all good.
No, it was okay. There was just somebody that needed to be let in.
Excellent. Oh, thank you for keeping an eye on that. I
No
appreciate that.
I'll have to thank Mrs. G because she actually flagged it. But I just want to remind everyone as well, if they want to take photos, we'll be preparing a video like we did last time, a little photo montage of everyone painting and having fun.
That.
So I forgot to mention that last time. So feel free to do that, and you can email the pictures to Mrs. G or the Divine Infant Council email, and we will collect them all and put them into a little slideshow.
Oh, that sounds great. I can't wait to see what you guys make. So for the bottom, like I said, you do a little curve. And again, make sure your curve, if you're not sure where to do it, I always like to do the top and the bottom of the curve before I fill in the middle. Now I've already done it, so I can't really show you, but we did the little kickstand here, and say we don't want the bottom of the curve to be right underneath, we want it to be closer to the corner. So that would be the curve that you follow. And then again here, you did the little kickstand, and then you don't want the curve to come right underneath him, you want it to be somewhere a little bit out. So he's got this big, stable body, so he won't tip over. Okay? And now you can already see it starting to look like our snowman. So we have the body outlined. Now when I paint, I always kind of do a sketch layer first. It's very rare for any artist to go ahead and start painting the final product right away. Okay, so a lot of artists call this the ugly stage. It doesn't mean your painting is ugly, it means it's not finished yet. Okay, if you think, oh, this doesn't look like a finished painting yet, I don't like it, we're just starting. Okay, so, and there's tons of time to fix things along the way. So now what I'd like you to do is to wash your medium brush, because we don't need it just yet. Once you're finished your 3 snowman body boulder thingies, I'm going to wash my medium brush in the water, and I'm going to dry it and put it aside. Now, I would like us to paint the background. This is going to take a bit of a long time because there's a lot of space here. But the reason I want to paint the background right away is so that it has time to dry. Now that we know where the snowman's body is, we can paint the background all blue. And as you can see in the picture underneath here, we have snowflakes and the hat and the scarf and all these other details we're going to be painting on top. So grab your biggest brush and put it in your blue, like that. And we're going to fill in the background. And you can start anywhere you like as long as you don't paint over the snowman's body. And if you do, what I like to do is kind of like tracing where I don't want the paint to go after. Like I don't want it to go beyond this, beyond here. So I'm painting the outline to kind of give him like a shield so that I don't accidentally paint over my snowman. So I'm using a brush that's about, I think the number washed off. Oh no, it's a number 11 brush. You don't have to have a number 11. You could even use a brush that you paint your house with. Actually, for my big canvases, I have some paintings that are taller than me and, like 5 or 6 feet tall. I'm not that tall. And the brushes that I use to paint them, I could even show you. Check out this brush. It's huge. It's bigger than our snowman. How fast could I fill the canvas if I use this brush, eh? But we're not using brushes this big. But I just wanted to let you know that you don't have to use fancy schmancy paint brushes. You can use ones from the dollar store, or you can get them from Home Depot if you need a big fat brush. It doesn't have to, whatever works, I use stuff from everywhere. So I'm giving my snowman a little shield. Make sure you're staying on the outside of the outline, okay? Because if you go along the middle of it, you might cover up some of the snowman, and then you won't have, he'll shrink. You don't want him to shrink. It's not spring yet. He won't melt. We want him to stay nice and plump. So it might take some time, and I paint really fast, even though I'm talking at the same time. I'm really used to painting really quickly, so I might fill this out before you do, and depending on how big your canvas is, it might take you some time. If you're finished super fast, that's great. You can just sit back, relax, eat a cookie, I don't know, whatever you want. You can wait, is what I'm saying. After this background blue stage, we're actually going to be using the black paint, so have that nearby. Oh, my cat is here. I have a cat named Milo, and she likes to hang out when I'm painting. I can see if I can show her to the screen. She's pretty friendly. You want to say hi, Milo? You want to say hi? Here's Milo. I pick her up like a kitten. There she is. I'm gonna give you a quick peek at Milo. Look at her, there she is. Oh, this is Milo. She's my studio buddy. Hi guys. She likes to sit right up here on my chair while I paint. She's like a parrot cat. Sorry, I'll get the picture back on. There we go. You can still see Milo's butt. She's right behind me. She loves to hang out with me while I paint. She also talks a lot. So sometimes when I'm doing these Zoom paint-alongs, she thinks I'm talking to her. And which is funny because she'll just answer me. And then she got off my chair. She just wanted to say hi. She's probably wondering who I was talking to. If you run out of blue paint, just put some more on your palette. I know I had talked about keeping it really super clean, but we're not mixing anything with the blue just yet. Actually, once we finish the background, we don't need pure blue anymore. We'll need it later to make some green. I hope you guys remember how to make green paint. If you don't remember, I'll tell you how. I'm sure it's not a mystery though. You just mix it with yellow. Blue and yellow make green. Easy peasy. Now when you're painting your background here, just a few tips. If your paint is looking like this, see how it's like really airy looking? It looks like foggy or, yes, Milo, I see you there. It looks kind of like smudgy. This is what it looks like when you don't have enough paint on your brush, okay? And that means you might need to grab some more and then spread it out. You also don't want big lumps like this. Like, see, I'll show you what a big lump of paint would look like. Oh, okay, that's pretty thick, okay? You can probably, yeah. So if you have, these are the two extremes, right? So this is too thin and this is too thick. So what you want to do is really use the big brush. Yes, Milo, I know you want to paint. Use the big brush to spread out all the paint. And if you have a really thick area, you can run your brush across it and kind of carry the paint over to a spot that needs it more. You really want as smooth a surface as possible. If it's not so super smooth, that's okay, but really what it is, why we want it to be smooth is so that it has time to dry. And we want it to dry because when later on, we're going to be adding snowflakes. And if you put white paint on top of wet blue paint, you'll get light blue, which isn't so bad. Light blue on blue actually would be pretty nice. And I know sometimes in the winter, snow kind of looks really pale blue, you know, in the morning when the sun comes up. So that's okay. That's okay too. If you end up with light blue snowflakes, it would be quite pretty. But we would like it to be as dry as possible so that you can hang it up or put it somewhere, and also so that the snowflakes don't get lost in the background. All right, so I'm just about finished painting my background. Give you guys a minute or so. If you fall behind, no worries. I'm happy to repeat any instructions needed. I'm trying to keep, Milo's so cute, yay. Oh, I am looking at the chat, by the way. See, I'll even do here a little happy face in my chat. I can see you guys in the chat. If you have any questions and you don't want to unmute your mic, it's too much of a hassle with brushes in your hands and all this stuff, you can just pop something in the chat and I will do my best to check it every few seconds. All right, there we go. My background is painted. I'm just smoothing some of it out. And after this, we probably won't need our big fat brush again because we just needed it to do lots of coverage here to cover the whole background. It's a really nice blue. I don't use cobalt blue very often. It's nice. Now I'm going to wash my big brush. A handy dandy tip to keep your brushes lasting a long time and to keep them healthy. Yes, I talk to my brushes like they're alive sometimes. I name some of them too. This is what happens when you paint every day for a job. I don't have a name for this one. Royal and Langnickel. Maybe we can just call them Royal. Anyway, so brushes are happiest when they are clean and dry, obviously. You don't want to leave your brush in your cup, okay? This is important because you might move your hand and knock it over and knock the water everywhere, all right? So when you're finished washing your brush, please, 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 please rinse it off. Make sure the water that comes off of it, you can kind of test it on your palette. I'm testing it here. There's no blue, okay? There's no blue on this big brush. And I'm gonna dry it with my paper towel and put it aside. And this is important because I've been painting for many, many years, okay? And I've had brushes that lasted me for at least 20 years. I have some brushes that are older than you guys, or some of you guys anyway. And if you dry it, wash it and dry it and put it away, they'll last you forever. If you don't, acrylic paint, acrylic is a type of plastic, okay? I'm just chatting here until everyone's finished coloring in their background. I'll give you 30 more seconds or so. Acrylic is a type of plastic, and when it dries in your brush, there's no way to get it out without really harsh chemicals. So it's important to wash and dry your brush just with water, rinse it out, and dry it off. You don't need to use soap, okay? At least not. I like to wash my brushes with soap at the very, very end after I'm finished a project. All right, so I'm gonna move on to the next step, all right? If anyone's freaking out and they're still not caught up, don't worry. We have this as a recording, or I can also go over the steps. We're not doing anything crazy drastic right now. I'm taking out my black paint next, okay? So I don't have a squeezy tube for my black paint, so I have to open it up. If you don't have black, a handy dandy trick is to mix red and blue with a little bit, just a tiny bit of yellow. And you would guess that all colors mixed together make black. Well, they make a dark color. Later on, we're going to be mixing brown, and that'll be a bit different. But if you don't have black, I like to mix a really dark purple. We don't need too much black, because the only thing that's going to be in black is the snowman's hat, his eyes, and his mouth. So I'm going to put a little dot. It's maybe a teaspoon. It's not very much. Actually, I could probably even just use the paint on my spoon, and that would be enough. So put some black paint on your palette. Make sure your brushes are clean and dry and put it aside, because then we're going to be using our medium brush again. And we're going to make a hat. Okay. So another thing to keep in mind is that we are going to be painting over some of the blue that we just did. So it might still be a little wet, okay? And that's okay. If your black mixes with blue, it'll be fine, because black is much stronger of a color than blue, right? So it'll overpower the blue. But again, please make sure that your blue area, Milo is still whining. It doesn't have to be dry. See, I touched mine and it's still a little wet. That's okay. We're just painting one color on top of it. So I have my medium brush. I need to wash my finger now. My medium brush is out. And I'm gonna grab some black paint on my medium brush. Oh wow, there really was enough on the spoon. I didn't even need to put it in my palette. So a little tip when you're putting paint onto a brush and you're planning on kind of drawing shapes with paint is I like to spread the paint on the brush, hi Milo, evenly on both sides. So I drag it on one side and then I drag it through the color on the other side. And what this does is it helps keep the shape of my brush. See? Now it's not a big blob at the end of my brush. It's kind of the same shape as my brush. And this will help me use the brush like a marker or pen, okay? Yes, Milo, I love you too. Yes. You want to sit on my lap? I don't think you'll do very well on my lap. I'm going to be like waving my arms around and... All right, so for the hat. Oh, now there's cat hair on my painting. Thanks, buddy. The hat can be a bit tricky. It might be, it's a bit of a drawing exercise, okay? So it won't be too hard. So what I want you to do is don't actually put your brush down onto the canvas. I want you to kind of visualize where halfway through the snowman's head would be, okay? It's about there. I'm looking at it, that's about halfway. Now, I want to be able to see his eyes. So the eyes will probably be halfway, which we'll get to in a bit. So I'm gonna imagine that there's a line. I can even use my other brush. And if you're getting stuck, maybe you can use a pencil or something too. That's halfway. I'm going to scooch it up a bit, so it's at the top third, okay? And then I'm gonna tilt it to give it some character, like that. See this line? It's kind of like tilted and it's near the top. All right, and then I'm going to paint that line. Okay, you see that? So cool. That is going to be the brim of his hat. That's like the thing around the bottom there. The big part. The part that will shield his eyes from the sun and hopefully prevent him from melting. So that line is going to be the bottom line for our hat. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 sideways letter U's, okay, on the end of that line. So the first one, we're going to put we're going to look at where the top of his head is, And we're going to do another imaginary line. Sorry, I think I skipped a step here. There we go. That's going to be kind of like where that red belt kind of thing, that hat. Some people, like, when I look at pictures of hats from a long time ago, for some reason they have like belt buckles on them. That's what strikes me as being a snowman hat. So that's where the bottom of that is going to be. Now, bear with me. I know it looks weird right now. This is like, we're in progress, okay? These are guidelines. Guidelines are super important when you're painting. So he looks weird. Looks like he has a giant equal sign on his head, but don't freak out. So now we're going to connect these. We're going to do a curved line. Again, if you're really scared of doing curved lines and they kind of freak you out, you can say, I want the end of the curve to be here. It'll be kind of like as if there's an imaginary triangle there. And that's the end of the curved line. Don't make it too big, just a dot. And the other side too, dot. All right? So that's going to be the very end of, that's going to be like the middle, the furthest point. It's called the apex of the curve, but whatever. It's just the furthest point of the curve, and then it's a bit easier to connect them. If you're still having trouble, you're scared of doing this little curve, you don't want to ruin everything, you can do a little dot here and a dot there, and then we can do our little connect the dots again, if you remember. And we join it. If you're dragging around some blue paint, that's okay. See, you can even see that mine has some of that blue paint in it. But we're going pretty slowly so that it has time to dry. There we go. Now it just looks like there's a giant pancake on his head, but don't worry. We'll change that up soon. Now we get to fill it in. We're going to fill in this bottom part of the hat, okay? There we go. I'm still using the same medium brush. It should be easy to paint over the white part of his head. The blue part, you might pick up some blue paint, and that's okay. Just keep painting through it. You can even mix it into the main hat color. If it's a lot of blue paint, then it can just be a dark blue hat. That is okay too. Or if you really don't like it, if it's mixing too much with your blue paint underneath, you can wait. You can just keep following the steps, but then afterwards you can just do another coat of black paint. And I do that all the time. If I don't really like how my painting looks, I touch it up later, because acrylic paint dries in actually it dries in minutes, but sometimes I'm impatient and then I'll just wait. I don't want to fix it. I want to fix it right away, but I have to, you can't be impatient with this. It'll let it dry and then paint over it again. All right, so now we have the bottom part of his hat. That wasn't so bad. Okay, now we're going to make the top part. So essentially all we're doing is a big cylinder, and if you guys aren't sure what a cylinder is, it's like the shape of a soup can. All right, so he's basically, he has a soup can on his head. So we're going to make a line. We're going to have an imaginary line where his head, kind of like his head would be. It would be like sitting in there. We want it big enough for his head to be in there. And then another little dot there. And that's going to be the bottom of our rectangle, or cylinder rather. And then we're going to bring this line. You know what? This is a cool time where you can make his hat look whatever you like, however you want. Okay, if you want a crazy hat and you have it curved in one direction, or a jester hat, or I don't know what you want his hat to look like, but I'm going to follow the picture that I have underneath me here just to keep things similar. So I'm going to make a line that is about the height of his head. If you're not sure, don't touch the painting, but measure with your fingers, kind of it's around there, and then bring it up here. Yeah, it's about the same height. And then another line. And if you want to go crazy with this snowman, this is your painting, okay? I really don't want you to think that you have to paint what I paint. And I'm always telling my students when we do art together that if everyone's painting looked the same, it would be very boring, okay? So I want you to have fun with it. And if you want to do the same hat, that's great. If you want to do your own hat, that's also great. I can't wait to see what everyone's looks like. All right, so now, to make it look kind of 3D, or to make it look like a cylinder, we have to make a curve. And the curve, so if it were flat, I'm going to do a line like this, okay? This is if it were just a flat hat. But I want to make it look a little better than that. So I'm going to do a curve. I'm going to say the curve topmost point will be there. So if it helps you, you can do a straight line first, and then you can have it come so that you can do a little curve here. And that'll make it look more like a real hat. where it has a curve because it's a cylinder. It's not a flat hat. He's got a round head. And later on, we're going to do some fancy shading, but for now, we're going to fill almost the whole thing with black. So if you right now have a hat that looks like mine, that's awesome. If yours looks different, that's also awesome. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the rest of the hat look a little more 3D. Let me check the chat. Everyone's good? Okay. Now, to make things look 3D, we kind of make them curved as if it's tilted, right? So I'm going to fill in the corners here on the bottom of the hat like this. I'm filling in the corners, little triangles at the corners, and then this helps it look a little curved. I'm going to touch it up here. It looks like a little curve. And then I'm going to try my best to make the top of the belt thing also do the same curve. And to do that, I'm going to follow the same line here and paint it above about 1 centimeter. This might be tricky. If you mess it up, you can just make it thinner or thicker later. You can paint over it, don't worry. But I'm following the same curve of the bottom, but up here. And this makes it look like that belt piece is actually on a cylinder and not just flat. And now we get to just fill all this in on the top of that belt area. Even the top, we're gonna cover the top too, okay? So this part here, I'm filling it all in, all of it. Again, I'm getting a little bit of the blue from underneath, but that's okay, because it actually makes some pretty cool looking brush strokes. See how where my brush is going, where the blue was, it kind of makes, you can see the lines of where I've been. Makes these cool little looking brush strokes actually. And that's nice because it shows them that it's a real painting made with brushes. Brush strokes are not bad. You want to cover them up. I know some painters like to have everything super realistic and then they want their brush strokes to be covered up, but I kind of like when they show. The last thing for the hat before we switch colors, actually we'll probably stick to the black since we have our black paint out, but I'm gonna do one curved line, a gentle curve, okay? I'm starting from the edge here and it might be just down to here. And this is to make the brim of the hat also look curved. This is a bit complicated. He's a 3D snowman. We're giving him some real shape here. I wanted to be able to guide you guys into making the hat look a bit 3D. Okay? If all else fails, you can just do a straight up hat, because when you look at something like straight on like that, you could even just do the hat one brush stroke to the side like this. I'm showing my sketchbook right now, you guys don't freak out. I didn't put away the painting. Like this, and then just do a rectangle, okay? If that's easier for you, please do whatever you're more comfortable with, okay? Just a simple skinny rectangle on the head and then a big rectangle on top. It's still a cool looking hat, okay? There we go. While we still have our medium brush, actually maybe we'll switch to the small brush for the eyes. I'm trying to think. Yeah, wash your medium brush, because the next color we use with the medium brush might be different. So I'm washing my medium brush and I'm cleaning it, drying it, and putting it aside. The biggest problem whenever I leave my brushes in my water cup is the knocking it over by accident. Like my arm will just go, you know. This line here, just a reminder, this line was a mistake line. I was showing you guys that if you make it too narrow, you can always widen it. You don't need this line, okay? This is not for anything. I'm gonna take my smallest brush now, okay? This is so that we can get a good, this brush is about half or a quarter of what my medium brush is. It's from the dollar store. It's pretty thin. It's not super pointy on the end, but it doesn't have to be. It's just whatever the smallest one is. And this, I'm just going to dip it in my black paint from the top like this, and then put the eyes on. There's one eye here. Just kind of dabbing it. And then the other one. Get some nice eyes. So keep the eyes close to the top. I'm just doing a little tiny baby circle. Okay. If you put them too low, there might not be room for his mouth or his carrot nose. So That ought to be good like that. Right. And then while we're here and we still have that color on our brush, I'm gonna go ahead and do his mouth. Again, leave some imaginary space for the nose, somewhere in the middle. So let's put the mouth near the bottom. I'm just gonna do 4 little dots, big to small. Big, sort of big, medium, and small. So just 4 little pebbles for his mouth. You can already see our snowman is coming to life. I'm gonna wash the tiny brush. And I think next we'll make the scarf. Okay. The scarf is gonna be fun because we're gonna mix green paint. So once you're finished the eyes and the mouth, we will grab some green paint. I mean, not green paint, yellow paint. I have my yellow. My little Menchie spoons. Or just squirt some yellow onto your palette, maybe next to your blue, but not on top of it, okay? There we go. So my yellow is kind of just next door neighbors with my blue paint. They're not touching, not yet. We will mix them together, but not until I tell you the secret magic trick to making green. Okay, it's not a super secret, but there is an important note when you're using acrylic paints. Okay, so I'm grabbing I have my yellow on my palette next to my blue. If you need more blue, please add more blue to your palette. I'm gonna take this black away so you're not getting confused by it. I have my medium brush, which is nice and clean from before. Make sure it's clean, rub it, like brush it onto your palette. Make sure no blue or black or no black comes out because that's the last color that we used for it. I'm going to grab a blob of yellow now with my medium brush. I'm gonna pull it down, just like grab a blob and put it here. And I'm making what's called a swatch. A swatch is like a sample color, okay? So that's the yellow, just patting it down with my brush. Okay, now I'm just gonna take a small dot of blue, not too much. When you mix paint, it doesn't go in equal amounts like, well, you might think that an equal part blue and an equal part yellow will make a medium green, but blue is actually much stronger of a color than yellow. And by stronger, I mean the pigment or the actual chemical that makes it the blue color is really intense, okay? So it's kind of like a flavor, like super strong, okay? So blue is like strong flavor, yellow is kind of chill, okay? So we're just gonna make sure you rub off some extra yellow, okay? It's okay if your brush is still yellow, that's okay, all right? I'm just making sure there's no giant chunks of it. And now I'm gonna dip this yellow brush into the side of my blue. Just dip it, just tiny. Like look at this tiny little bit. It's like this little baby amount, so small. Okay, and then I'm gonna introduce it to my yellow. Be like, hey, yellow, what's going on? I'm gonna mix it up. Mix, mix, mix. See how fast it already turns green, and then we barely used any blue. That's the trick, because if you use too much blue right away, you can't go back. It's hard to make the color go backwards into yellow or a more yellowish blue. So now I think this is starting to look like green. You want to mix it slowly, so I'm gonna grab another dot of blue, and you just keep adding dots of blue until you like your green color. Like, this is a nice scarf color, right here. And the reason we only add little dots of blue at a time is because blue is so strong, it can overpower the yellow very quickly. If you find that you're having a lot of trouble mixing green, don't try to fix the color that you're mixing here. Just start over in a separate section, okay? Because if it's really hard and like your green is way too blue or way too dark, just start a new little blob of green over here. Like start brand new with a big thing of yellow, boop, and then a dot of blue and try it again, okay? So make sure you have enough green paint to make the scarf. And I know you probably don't know how much that's gonna be, but I have a little blob here. It's about the size of a loonie of paint, of green paint. I like my green, it looks pretty good. So now we're gonna do the scarf. All right, so the scarf just, we want to cover up this blue sketch line that we made earlier, okay? So that already is our guideline for our scarf. So you just trace it with your medium brush, I'm going to cover it, but try to keep the shape of his head, okay? You don't want to lose his head. You don't want to cover it up. So I'm just doing some simple strokes under his head with the green paint that I just made. If you can still see the blue underneath it, don't worry too much about that. Try not to put so much thick green paint. We want it to stay pretty smooth. Milo is commenting, yes. Yeah. Do you like mixing paint, Milo? Sometimes, she says. So I'm outlining the bottom of his head, but as you can see, I'm also going a little bit outside of it. See here? Take a quick look up at the screen. I'm making it a bit wider, and I'm letting the curve of my brush make the shape of his scarf. If your brush is not curved, that's okay. You can just make a little curve. You can outline it there. And I put, see how many times I'm dabbing, like I'm touching the canvas with my brush so many times to smooth out the paint. Okay? If you don't do it this way, that's okay too, just so long as you have your scarf shape. So that's kind of the left-hand side. I'm going to drag it all the way to the right. Yes, Milo, we hear you. She's really chatty today. Chatty catty. And I'll do the same on the other side where I make a little curve. Oh, look at that. Looks like he has a nice green collar. Hope you guys mixed a nice green. I can't wait to see all the colors that you mix. There we go. And now, see, we didn't even have to erase this outline. Like the outline for the head is already perfect now. It's all good because the hat covered the top of it. The scarf is nice and cozy on the bottom, and now the white is looking good. All right, so I'm gonna grab more green, and we're gonna make the scarf, the other two ends of the scarf come down. All right, so I have green. Milo is super chatty. Oh my goodness, she's chatty. Okay, if your blue paint is still super wet, you can just do one end of the scarf on his body. So I'm gonna drag this. I'll do both ends because mine here, my blue paint is pretty dry. I'm touching it really lightly. I don't get any blue on my fingers. If you're getting tons of blue on your fingers, I would suggest just making the bottom part of the scarf here. And to do that, we're just gonna drag it down the body. And you can do it straight down or you can do a curve. I'm gonna do a curve. I'm gonna push my brush in the canvas and do a slight curve, because if a scarf is sitting on a snowball, the snowball is round, okay? So make a line with your brush. And if you're not sure about your curve, again, like I said before, you can do the bottom of the curve first. Say, okay, I know that I at least want the scarf to end here. So you can join it there. There we go. And then if you want to make it, it's always good to start out thinner than you think you'll need, because you can always add. It's harder to take away, okay? It's harder to make the color smaller, but if you start sketchy and light, and then you can make it thicker by adding to the edge. There we go. It's a bit, and I like to make my scarves a little wider at the bottom. I'm not really sure why I do that. I just think it looks nice. And then, once that's filled out, I do my little tassels. And for the tassels, I'm just taking the brush and dabbing the tip, like boop, 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 boop. There's 4 little tassels there. Easy peasy. If you want to add another branch or the other end of the scarf, you can do that too. I'm gonna do that over here. So I want the top to be around here, and I want the bottom to kind of, on my sample piece, I have it kind of going off of the page, but I don't know if I need to do that today. I want the bottom to be around there. You might not be able to see that very well because it's green on blue, and there's blue inside of this green paint, so it might be tricky to see, but it's not so bad. And I'm making the curve right up to this top of the scarf. Same thing, I started, see how thin I started it? I didn't start it right how it needs to be at the end. We start with sketching and guidelines, and we have an idea of where we're gonna go so that it's easier to slowly move in that direction instead of trying to finish it all at once. That way you can make little adjustments along the way. If you need to mix more green paint, please do. Take the time to grab some more yellow and then do the little dot of blue. There we go. Small on top, big on bottom. And you can add the little tassels too if you like. And I just did that doop, 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 dotting at the ends. Our snowman is starting to look pretty epic. I think he needs a nose though. I think that's what we're gonna do next. Actually, we'll probably do the red first, because then we move from red. And how do we make orange for the carrot nose? Does anyone know? You mix it with yellow. So wash, once you're finished with your, oh, no, don't wash your brush yet. I lied, sorry, I skipped ahead. Because there's one other thing, what I like to do when I'm painting is I like to do all the colors that are similar at the same time so that I don't have to mix it over and over again, okay? So I still have some green paint left here. If you guys can see on the sample snowman, maybe it's almost cut off, but at the bottom you can tell there's a little green button. And instead of just giant big black rocks of coal or whatever as his buttons or whatever, I decided to put big colorful buttons. So at the very bottom, I'm doing a circle with my green. I'm gonna save that for later. That's gonna be a button. It can be as big as roughly a quarter on my canvas. It looks like a size of a quarter, like a coin or something. It's just a decoration. You can make it any shape you like. I'm gonna make mine a circle button. There. So now all the green in our painting is pretty much done. So we don't have to worry about mixing another layer of it over and over again. I'm gonna touch up some green here. Because green contains yellow, and yellow is a very weak color, sometimes you can see underneath it. And that's okay, just make sure you wait for it to dry a little bit, then you can do another coat, another layer on top. Just like painting a wall at your house, you need to have more than one layer, because sometimes the first layer after it dries, you can still kind of see stuff that's underneath. It's normal, it's totally normal. Some paint is more transparent, which is like, see-through than others. All right, so now we get to finally use red. We haven't used white yet either. So let's get some red. Red, 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 red. I luckily have a tube of red today. I don't have to use my spoons. The red I'm using is called primary magenta. Yours can just say red or cherry red or scarlet. I'm gonna put it, since we're gonna be mixing orange later, I'm gonna try to put my red sort of close to my yellow. But not in it, okay? You want it, if you have one of those palettes, one of those paint holders that has like sections, you can put it not right next to the yellow, but it's next door, next neighbor, like, you know, every other one. Just so that you can mix an orange in the middle later. All right, so get your red. What did we do with our brush? I washed it. Yes, I washed it and put it aside. I did, without even noticing. I just did it automatically. Auto-magically. Okay, I'm gonna dry it off. I have red on my palette. We're getting ready to make some red stuff. So I would like to do the reds first, and then we'll mix some orange. But first, just red. So medium brush, nice and clean, super clean. Red paint, we're going for it. Laura is confused. Or the Laura, sorry. What part are you confused about? The scarf?
Do we have to use the small brush or the bigger brush?
Do you have a medium brush? What did you use for your scarf?
I used the medium brush.
Okay, we're gonna use the medium one with the red next, okay?
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
My name is Paige, by the way.
Hi, Paige. Great, so yes, medium brush, nice and clean. Take a moment to clean it if you need to, and red paint on our palette. So I'm gonna grab some red with my medium brush, like this, and then we're going to paint, surprise, we're painting the hat again. I'm filling this in, the belt thing, the strap, the colorful band on his hat. I'm gonna paint it red. If you would like to paint it a different color, feel free. You can add whatever you like later. If your red isn't quite covering your blue very well, you can just make the paint a little thicker. And that I just need to use more paint instead if you want it to cover. There we go. Try to stay in the lines. If you can't stay in the lines, that's okay. If you're having trouble, if your medium brush is too big, you can use your tiny brush to fill this in, okay? Try both. If the medium brush is too big to fill this in, use your tiny brush instead. It should be nice and clean from before, hopefully. If it sticks out a bit from the hat, that's okay too. I'm gonna make mine stick out on purpose a little bit. I have it cover the outline of my hat. There we go. There's the band. Nice little blob of color for his hat, so it's not all black. Once you're finished the red band of the hat, we are going to do the red button, which is on the torso, which is the middle ball of the snowman. Again, same medium brush, red paint, and I'm going to make a little circle. Ooh, there we go. Because my brush has rounded corners, it's quite easy to do a circle. Doesn't have to be a perfect circle, it's just a button. There we go. Looks like a traffic light actually. There we go. All right, now we get to mix orange. I'm pretty excited to mix some orange. The red parts of the scarf we're gonna do later because it might take some time for the green paint to dry, okay? So we're gonna let that dry for a bit. All right, so I have the red paint on my medium brush. Next, we're going to make orange. So to do orange is a lot of yellow and a dot of red, okay? Since we're starting with red on the brush, I'm going to wipe it off on the palette kind of nearby, okay? If you have a ton of red paint on your brush, you can wash it. But right now, I didn't have too much red paint on my brush, so I'm wiping it off on the palette. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to grab some yellow. So if you have a squeeze bottle, you can squeeze it right onto the red, just a little bit. Or I'm gonna lift some yellow paint with my brush, like this, okay? Just lifted it up. And now I'm swirling it in my second red blob. So this is my main red blob that, you know, I got straight from the tube. And this is my new color of orange. See how you might need to add a lot of yellow to get it to actually turn orange, because red, again, is stronger, more intense than yellow. So I'm gonna grab more yellow a bit to make it a brighter orange. There. Hopefully everyone gets a nice orange color. Now I'm thinking maybe we should have switched brushes for this, but while we still have orange paint on our medium brush, let's do the middle button of the snowman's lovely imaginary coat. So if you're still mixing orange, that's fine. Take your medium brush with orange and make a circle in between the red and the green button. Now mine is kind of covering the blue and it's kind of see-through, so I might just do one layer and I might have to touch it up later. See, you can still see my blue in the middle there, but I'll probably paint over it later. There we go. It should sit either on the middle torso of your snowman, depending on how you painted him. It might be on the bottom ball of your snowman. Definitely not on the top ball. It's either on, or right in between. Like mine is almost touching both of them. It's right there. Orange button. There we go. Now I'm gonna do the nose with my smallest brush just because carrots come to a point. And sometimes points are really hard to do with these medium brushes. So I'm gonna wash my medium brush now after I finish the button. Wash, wash, wash. Okay, wash and dry. I'm going to put the medium brush aside. I don't need it right now. I'm going to take a sip of my drink. It is cold coffee now. Ooh. Anyway. This is my smallest brush. I'm gonna do the carrot nose with the small brush, okay? Because we want it to come to a point. So, I still have some orange left. If you need to mix more orange, go for it. Remember, it's more yellow than blue. I mean red. Sorry. Don't make orange with blue. If you need to mix more orange, it's lots of yellow and a dot of red on your smallest brush. Okay? I like to twirl my little brush in the paint so that it keeps the point of the brush still nice and pointy. I twirl it in there. And now it's got lots of orange paint on it, but it still comes to a point. So the carrot nose, this is probably how I would do it. I'm gonna do a dot right in the middle of his face, just to see. Okay, it's gonna be around there. And then I'm gonna build around that dot. So there's a dot in the middle, and I'm gonna make it a bit into a line, just making the dot longer, okay? Now it looks like a straight line in the middle of his face, which is also kind of funny looking. I'm gonna curve it a bit to the left. Okay, so now it looks like he has a funny curve in the middle of his face. All right, and then I'm going to drag a line over to the right. Now it looks like there's a giant thumbtack on his nose, on his face. But you can probably guess where I'm going. This line, I'm gonna keep the end of it pretty thin, okay? We're making a sideways cone. That's pretty much the shape of a carrot. So if you guys remember the difference between a cone, a triangle, cylinder. So the cone is like the 3D shape of a cylinder and a triangle. So we have the curved bottom that I did, and then the long point, and then now I'm gonna join the top of the curve to the point and do the same thing to the bottom. Then we have a carrot nose. Just gonna keep brushing out that orange. Beautiful. Beautiful carrot nose. So nice. It's looking pretty cute. Now, we don't need orange again in our painting, okay? But what we do need is to make brown. Now, brown is challenging. Sometimes it's really hard to mix. If you already have brown paint, you can just use brown paint, okay? But otherwise, I will teach you how to make brown. Now, the reason I did orange is because orange is kind of a base color for brown. So I have orange here in my palette. If you don't have any more orange left, please mix some more by adding yellow and red, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take just a dot of blue. And you might think I'm crazy. We'll see what happens. Just a dot of blue to my orange on the corner here. It's looking pretty green, but the more orange I put in there, the closer it gets to brown. Okay? So I'm gonna mix it until I get a color that looks like brown. Now, if it doesn't look like brown, if you're not happy with your brown color, normally I would say it's because it doesn't have enough red. If it's looking really green after you added the blue, it's because there's probably not enough red. So I'm adding a little bit more red. There we go. That makes brown. So brown really is just all three colors mixed together, but in different proportions, different amounts. In this case, I started us off. Oh, yeah, no worries. Thanks for joining us. At this point, if you actually have to leave and you're still painting and you want to finish your painting later, all we're really adding with this brown paint are the twig arms and then some snowflakes after and then little details. Okay, so if you are having a lot of trouble with brown, you can actually just use orange for the sticks and maybe just add maybe a dot of black to it, but my brown looks pretty good. Again, I did orange and then with a dot of blue. And then I had to add a little bit more red to it because it still didn't look quite right. So I have brown paint on my tiniest brush. You might want to scooch up to your medium brush for this, but I'm going to do the tracing of the twig arm with my tiniest brush because it's already wet with the paint, okay? So I'm saying like halfway up the middle torso, I'm gonna do a dot of brown. Okay. And then we're gonna do an arm. So I'm gonna make it come out a little bit to the elbow here. The blue background should be dry by now. Again, I start really thin and then I can always thicken it after. The trick with tree branches, because I assume that's what the snowman had for an arm, was a tree branch, is that the base of it is always thicker than the end. Okay, that's how trees grow. They're big at the bottom and thin on the top. So I'm making the bottom of this twig a bit thicker, and then that's gonna be the elbow, and then I'm gonna switch directions after this is about 3 fingers wide, I'd say. Don't go all the way to the edge. Stop about halfway to the edge and then change directions to make him wave. Now you can do a line up. Okay. Start thin and then you can thicken it after. So right now he's it looks like a broken broomstick arm, so maybe we want to add some fingers or some twigs to our branch. And try not to make this end thicker than the base. That's what's going to make it look more realistic. So when I do trees, I just do twigs anywhere at all. So I'll make like a fork shape, one finger, and then maybe it looks like a letter Y. Right now it looks like a slingshot. We're gonna add, and then I'm gonna add, you can add whatever twigs you like. Remember, it doesn't have to look like a real hand because it's, it's a snowman. He doesn't actually have real hands. It's a tree branch. And real tree branches have all sorts of twigs. So remember, the further it is outwards from the snowman's body, the thinner the branch is. And that's why I chose my thin brush for this. I'll do another branch randomly down here because that's probably what a tree could look like. There you go. And you could also add little tiny extra twigs. Maybe he has like one here or even one down here because it's a tree branch, right? So yeah. And then I still have a bit of brown paint left. We'll do some of his other hand. And the other hand, depending on how close your snowman is to the edge of your canvas, I just made it so that the other arm just goes straight off the side here. Like that. Doesn't have to be fancy. Easy peasy. The focus is here. It's kind of like the focus is him waving, not the other arm. If you really want, you can have both arms sticking up. You can make them do other things. It's your painting. You do what you like. All right. So, just a few more details to do. I'm gonna wash my thin brush. I think we're almost ready to break out the white. I think now would be a good time to use white. I'm washing my tiny brush right now because next we're gonna put white paint on our canvas. Well, on your palette, sorry, palette. Get your white paint ready. So I have this paint called titanium white. Titanium is a mineral they use to make white paint. That's where that name comes from. Ugh. Just squeezing it anywhere that's a bit far. Oh, this is really low. I might need to swap out this paint tube. Paint fart sounds. There we go, white paint on my palette. So we have a few details to add. I'm just gonna stick with my super skinny brush still. Where did I put it? Here it is. All right, so I washed our skinny brush after our tiniest brush after using the brown. Okay, so there's no more brown on my brush. Now I'm gonna take the white and I'm gonna do some details on the hat, which you might have forgotten about your hat. We still have some things to add to it. We have about half an hour left. Actually, now would be a really good time to let everything dry. And I'm gonna say we should take a 5-minute break to let the painting dry before we add these details, okay? So we still have about half an hour left on this painting, okay? Still lots of details to do, but some of the spots might still be wet. But for the next few steps, I really want the painting to be dry. So 5-minute break. Right now it is 3:25. This will also give you time to catch up if you're falling behind. So I will say at exactly 3:30, we will do our next step. If you need to go to the bathroom, if you need to grab a snack, if you need to stretch your legs, now is a good time, okay? So I'm just gonna write in the chat here, 5-minute break. Come back for 3:30. Letting some of the paint dry. I'm gonna use this break to eat a piece of chocolate. If anyone has any questions during this break, I won't be doing any new steps, but if you want to show me what you have so far and you're confused about something, now is a really good time. If you need to go to the bathroom or stretch your legs, run around a bit, I'm gonna eat a piece of chocolate. If you're just sitting and you're on the same step as me, and we're just waiting for paint to dry, we can do some stretches. Deep breath in, arms up, bend over to the side. It feels nice. And again, arms to the top, and lean over to the left, or my left. Sometimes when I sit down and paint for a really long time, it's been over an hour that you guys have been sitting, so please do take a break, or go to the bathroom or something. Usually I make the break after exactly 1 hour, so. But we're a bit off schedule, it's okay. If anyone is hanging out and just waiting, you totally, if you want to turn on your camera to show me your painting, you can. No pressure. But, you know, if you want to. I would say hi to Milo, but I don't know where she went. Maybe she got tired of me not paying attention to her.
Hi.
Hi! Let me see. Oh my goodness, that looks so good! Thank you for showing me.
You want to tell her your name is Claire?
My name is Clay.
Hi, Clay. Nice to meet you. Are you enjoying painting the snowman?
Yes.
Yeah. That's awesome. It looks really great so far. Oh, there's another one. Oh, a circle canvas. What a great idea. That is very cool. Oh, you've already added your stripes to your scarf? You're so way ahead of everyone. Oh, Pages is looking really good too. Oh, I love how bright green it is. Oh, that scarf looks so good. I really love the circle canvas. What a great idea. Thanks, guys. We have 1 more minute left of our break, and then we'll get back to painting. Like the one that we did see, if you guys want to skip ahead and you want to keep painting, that's, oh, look at that one. Oh, it's so cute. Good job on all those shapes, you guys. That is so great. Circles can be tricky. You guys are rocking it. That's awesome. Oh, I'm so glad to see. It's funny because like with paint nights or paint parties, everyone's painting looks the same but different, right? Oh, wow, that's so good. Look at all those colors. That's amazing.
My last one, I had this huge fail, but thanks I had another canvas to do this one on.
There you go. Having extras is really good. I have tons of canvases.
I know I made this picture.
That looks so good.
Not my brother.
It's an abstract snowman.
I love it. I love abstract paintings.
That's well nice.
Sometimes all I really want to do is mix colors and make a mess. And that's painting too. Guess what? It's 3:30. Let's continue. Thank you so much for showing me your paintings, you guys. I'm glad to see that my instructions are sort of working.
I have a fun time by doing this.
Oh, I'm so glad. That's awesome. Me too. Okay, so we have white paint next. You can probably guess what we're going to do because you can see the picture underneath. Now, hopefully your painting is mostly dry. If you have big clumps of paint in some places, it might be tricky. But the first thing I'm going to do with the white is outline the highlights of my snowman's hat. So for that, we had this top curve, but I'm only going to do the bottom curve of that imaginary of the hat, of the top of the hat. Remember, we wanted it to make it look like a real cylinder. So for that, I'm doing a curved line in white. If you mess up, you can just paint over it in black. Curved line in white from one end to the other. And I'm not going quite all the way to the end. I'm leaving some space there. If you're having a hard time making a very skinny, clean line, sometimes I do a quick, super quick, like boop, dip in water and then back into the paint. Because sometimes as your paint dries, or if your brush dries, the paint gets kind of clumpy. So I dip it real quick in water, super, super quick. And then do that curve there. And that helps give you an idea of like the shape of the top of the hat, okay? So that's done. Next, what I'm gonna do is I really want there to be this buckle. I'm touching the red paint on his hat. It's pretty dry. Okay, so this next thing is a trick that I use when I'm painting a light color onto a dark color. I really want to make the buckle like a nice golden yellow. But if I do yellow right on top of this red, I'm just going to show you, it's not going to show because the red is too dark, depending on your yellow. So don't do what I'm doing just now. I just want to show you how like the yellow looks kind of dark there. So one trick that I do is I paint something that's really dark. I'll paint white first and then I'll go over it after. So I'm gonna do a white square. The white shows up really nicely and the red should be dry. So white, I'm gonna do a white rectangle, sorry, it's not a square, on this hat. And that's gonna be where the buckle is. If you don't want a buckle in his hat, that's okay. You make whatever you like. And this will be where my buckle will go, and then the little line here is like the belt buckle part. It's just a short little line between the top and the bottom. So that's white. I know, I don't want it to stay white forever. We're gonna let that white dry. Then we're gonna cover it with yellow later, okay, after it dries. We're moving our way down the snowman, adding all these awesome details in white. Okay. We still have our teeny tiny brush with our white paint. I'm gonna do two little sparkles in his eyes. Just one, the top left corner, just a small dot, the tiniest little dot. And again on the other one. And look, it gives him like these animated eyes. They look like they're full of life. If you're super good with your brush, you could even try to do little sparkles, but my brush is too big for that. Okay, and then we're going to do some little lines for the carrot nose. I chose white for this because, I mean, you could choose light orange, but mixing light orange might be kind of annoying. So I have the white paint, and I'm gonna do these little curves on the top half of the carrot nose. This is kind of complex drawing stuff. If you want to skip this step and you're happy with your carrot nose, feel free. You can just leave it as is. I put these little lines on the carrot nose because it looks a little detailed. Also, if you're unhappy with the edges of your snowman, since we're already using white paint right now, sorry, I'll just repeat. The previous step, I just did these little curves on the top of the carrot nose and the two dots on the eyes. If you need to catch up. That's the last thing we did.
I have a question.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Are we using the smallest brush that we have?
Yes, yes. Thank you. Good question. Yeah, I'm using my smallest brush right now because we're doing fine detail work. Okay, so I did the dots in the eyes, a few of the carrot lines, because you know how carrots are kind of bumpy and they have like lines on them, and it's just to show that it's not just a flat triangle. Now, while we have our white paint here, if you want to fix up any, like I can do this here. If you want to stop to have a quick look, I'm using my white paint on the edge here. You don't have to do this if your white is perfect, okay? I know I saw your snowman, you guys, some of them, they all look amazing. You might not even have to do this. But since I already have my white paint out, I can even make the edges a bit nicer if you want to. Remember how I was saying we can fix things up, so that's what I'm kind of doing now. And how I made this mistake on purpose before to show you guys. Now I can paint over it with white. So if you made any mistakes with your blue, or with your scarf, or with your button, you can paint over it. And at this point too, you can even paint over the bottom line of the ball, of the snowman's torso. If you like this blue line here, it's totally fine, okay? It's totally up to you. I might make mine a little thinner. Since we're using white paint, it's kind of like whiteout or like a white marker. We can bring back that background. I'm gonna add, if you want to completely cover up this line too, that's okay too. Whatever you like best. I think I'll keep a little bit of it there to show the circle. In my example painting, I covered it right up. So it's really, depends on what look you like. Maybe do the outside of my button to make it more circular. This is like the touch-ups. All the big parts are done now. Now it's just like, for me, the touch-ups and the details are the funnest part because the hard work is already done. There, so I just cleaned it up a bit. He's looking pretty fine. I also added a highlight line to the bottom of the hat. So that would be following the curve of the hat, leaving a space on the bottom underneath it. I did this curve along the bottom. Again, still using your tiniest brush because these are details. I have to keep going back for paint because my white paint is actually starting to dry. There we go. See, and this kind of makes it look more 3D or like a glossy satin hat, you know, like those hats that are like super smooth and shiny, and that white makes it look like extra shiny. And I'm gonna add some extra shine to my buttons too. I love making everything shiny. I love making shiny things. Sometimes I use glitter paint. Have you guys ever used like silver or gold paint? That could be fun too. I don't have any today, but if you have it, go for it. Oh, I forgot to do little holes for the buttons. Okay, we can do that later. For now, I'm adding a curve going to the top of the button. Adding that highlight. It almost makes it look like a Christmas ornament. And for that, it's just a little curve. Starting on the left side and going to the top. See, it makes it look so shiny. Everything's so shiny. Now the last thing I wanted to do to the snowman before we get to do the snow is my favorite part. Okay, two more things, sorry, I lied. As you noticed before, I had the red stripes on the scarf. Now, you can just try going for it with red. I think we'll do that, yeah. So, I'm trying to make a decision here. If the scarf is dry, then go ahead and wash your brush. If you're finished the white highlights, we're gonna do those stripes on the scarf. If you've already done the stripes on your scarf, or if you don't want stripes on your scarf, you can just keep doing what you're doing, okay? The next step after the scarf is the little buckle and the snow. So if you wanna run ahead, that's totally fine. But for me, I'm washing my brush. I lost my cloth, there it is. And I'm gonna do some really cool stripes on my scarf. Okay, so I grab some red with my tiniest brush because we want to stay in the lines, right? So whenever I want to color something in and stay in the lines, I use the tiniest brush. And now I'm just gonna do some stripes. And the stripes can be any which way. I'm just staying in the lines of the scarf and just doing a pattern where I do one line in red and then I leave a space the same width. And then that'll be kind of like the green stripe. And then I do the red again and I skip. I'm kind of doing it the width of my brush, so I just have to push down one time and then it kind of, well, more than one time. I'm making stripes. Stripes, stripes. So the trick with stripes to make them look kind of real is that, see how they started off this way and now they're kind of pointing up and it's following the curve of my scarf. I wouldn't want to do the stripes straight up and down on this one. I would want to do them kind of sideways because the scarf is pointing down. Do one, skip a bit, do another one, and another one. You could even use blue, you could use orange, but I'm using red because it's easy. We already have it, and red and green is kind of like my favorite Christmas combination, you know? Yeah, our green should be dry. If you tried doing wet red on wet green, it might turn kind of brownish. Now I'm doing the stripes for the main part of the scarf. He has a very stripy scarf. You don't have to have as many stripes as me. You can do like 2 or 3 big ones. I think in my sample piece I also had really thin stripes in between them. But for now I'm just doing the red ones. Great. He's looking pretty cool. I'm washing the red out of my brush because I'm finished with the stripes. Wash, wash, wash. So the last step on the snowman that I'm gonna do is, remember how we did this little buckle at the top in white? And this was a trick, if it's sort of dry, it's sort of dry. This is a trick I do when I wanna paint a really pale color on top of a dark color. I washed my tiny brush. It is clean. Tiniest, tiniest brush. I'm grabbing yellow. Okay, if you need to get more yellow, squirt some more yellow on your palette. I'm dipping the yellow, just pure yellow, and now I'm going over this white buckle that we did. And now look how bright that yellow is on top of that white. And because before I showed you the white on top of, before I showed you yellow on top of plain red, and it didn't show up very well. But this is a super, super secret painter trick. I did white on top, I let it dry, and then I do a light color. And this makes it so that it stays nice and bright, because yellow, like I said, it needs some help sometimes. My yellow is really transparent, so sometimes it's hard to see it. But when there's white underneath it, it becomes much brighter. So cool. All right. Oh my gosh, now my favorite part, the snow. I've been looking forward to this the whole time. Oh, actually,
So for this one we use the smallest one that we could.
the tiniest, tiniest brush you have to make snowflakes. Oh my gosh, that is so small. The nice thing about snow is that there can be all sorts of different shapes of snowflakes, okay? So if you have the tiniest one, if you have the tiniest, tiniest brush, you might be making snowflakes all day, all right? So it really depends. I'm going to take my tiny brush, I'm dipping it in the white, boop, and then I'm just gonna like do dot, dot, dot. This is my favorite part. I even had some snowflakes. I'll show you how to do a snowflake in a sec. First, I'm going to do some of these dots. Boop, 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 boop,
I
boop.
like the flattest brush that I could find in my hand right now. I'm using this one.
Wow, you're using your fan brush. I don't ever use fan brushes, but I always have a kit that has them. And I'm like, I never know what to use this for. Maybe making some palm trees or eyelashes or something. Obviously, palm tree would not fit in this picture, but if you want to go crazy, I mean, you can do whatever you want. It's your painting. All right, so to make a snowflake, I'll do a couple of them. What I do is I do an X first. So I'm gonna make it, you can do them anywhere. I'm gonna make this one hang out right between his face and his hand. I'm gonna do an X like that. Okay? There is an X. And then I'm gonna add a line down the middle. There we go. And then I like to do the dots on all the ends. I think it looks pretty. There we go. If you want to get extra fancy, you can even do dots in between. Really tiny ones. It's up to you. Snowflakes are totally, they're all different. They're all exciting and crazy and all different.
This is what Mario looks like so far. I have snowflakes.
Oh, I love the snow. Oh, look at all those. I love the snowflakes. Oh, the snowflakes are the best part. Excellent work, you guys. I love it. I'm going to do a few big snowflakes because I see all of your big snowflakes and it makes me want to do a few big ones. I'll do a few little sparkles. I like to change up my snow. I like to do some as tiny dots. Maybe I'll do some as big dots. Maybe someone's throwing a snowball at our snowman. Do a giant boulder. And then some of them teeny tiny that you can barely see. The ones that look extra tiny, you know what? Those ones are, they can be far away. And we didn't really do a lesson in perspective or anything today, but perspective is when things that are closer up to you look bigger and the things really far away are kind of tiny. So that can happen with snow too. Oh, I don't have any snowflakes on this left side. Let's do one right there. X, a line down the middle, and the dots on the end. That's my shortcut. I make the X pretty wide. So like, I make the X like a fat X and then down the middle. That way it's a bit more balanced. Do, 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 do. And don't forget to sign your name. If you have a Sharpie marker, that's probably the best way to do it. I have a lot of trouble signing my name with paintbrushes, I'll be honest, and I'm a professional painter. Sometimes I still sign my paintings with a Sharpie.
Alright, go ahead.
Let me see. Is someone
You have to not run away because we're going to do the draw very soon, okay?
Ooh. Snowflakes. If you want, you can even do some snowflakes on the snowman, because then it will look like the snow is coming in front of him.
I finished.
You finished it? Let's see it, Clay. Oh my goodness. That looks wonderful.
I did some touch-ups with my mom. And
Yeah? That looks so good. Team effort. I love it. That blue is so good. I think your blue is a different blue than mine. It's like more of a sky blue.
I'm sticking around to the
All right. Yeah, stick around. These guys got something special in store for you. All right, maybe I'll sign my name. I'll sign it down here. I can use a brush today. This brush is pretty small. You're done too? Let me see. So good. Oh, the snow really makes it so good.
There's not going to be much snowflakes of snow on mine. It's going to be like a little bit.
Oh, that's okay.
It's much.
It can be, oh, that looks so good. Good job mixing the browns. Brown was tricky, a really tricky color to mix. I'm so proud of you guys. You followed the directions. You took your own creative choices. These all look different, but the same, sort of. I can just go nuts on the snow. You know what? I have some paintings of mine where I put sparkly things in them, and I just love it. I could do it all day.
What color should I sign?
Oh, someone asked, sorry, how long have I been painting? Did you ask that? You can sign it in white because you already have it on your brush. I've been painting professionally for about 10 years, but before that I went to school for painting. I went to university. Yeah.
Trying to get me to draw. I only draw when I feel like it.
That's a good time to draw, when you feel like it. Oh, you know what I forgot on this snowman? I forgot the little holes for the buttons. So I'm just using some black. I'm going to do 2 little dots. Boop, boop. It's going to look like they have eyes. You know those, like when you have a big button And it has little holes for where you sew them in. Honestly, I don't think it's really necessary, but they look like little eyes. Other details I did was add an extra stripe in the scarf. Again, these are all optional. I have my green. I still have some green left. No, do I? Maybe? I mixed a light green. So if you're feeling adventurous and you want to add more details, we're pretty much done. But I'm mixing some extra green and I'm adding white to the green to make light green. Oh, good. That's a good idea. That is a good idea. Snow on the ground. If your snowman is in a snowdrift, it's a super snowy day. Clearly, we're adding a lot of snow to these paintings, so some of it has definitely accumulated onto the ground. So feel free to do a snowdrift, like a big snowbank he can be sitting in. I just mixed it some light green, and I'm adding another stripe in my scarf because I feel like it. What else can I do for fun on here? Now it looks like a candy cane scarf. You can add more decorations to his hat. Maybe I can do some holly. Holly's kind of tricky to draw though.
I'm gonna like put my name red inside of the snowman.
That's a cool place. You don't have to sign in the same place as I did. That's a great idea. You can sign it wherever you like. You can even make a speech bubble with your name in it. That would be cool. I think I might try doing a sprig of holly on his hat.
You can make a little big snowflake and then put your name in it.
That's true. You can put your name in one of those snowflakes. That's a wonderful idea. Okay. Maybe I'll do some holly. Holly is like a pointy stick of a plant bush. It's really pointy, but it's those green leaves that are really pointy that have the red berries on them. I'm adding one to his hat. I just did like some lines, like a long line, and then it looks like a little arrows on the outside. That's what I did for my holly. It kind of looks like a feather in his hat. And then some little red berries. This isn't really part of the original. That's why I'm not taking so much time for it. But if you want to add anything you like, I did some green. I'm adding some little holly to his hat. I love holly. I went to British Columbia to visit my grandparents, and they had actual holly bushes that were like 10 feet tall along the road. I was like, I've never seen real holly trees before. I only ever see them as Christmas decorations on wrapping paper. It was huge. The holly bush was almost as big as the house. It was crazy. Really? That's amazing. What kind of art did she make?
My mom just said that my great grandma just painted with a knife.
That's right, a palette knife, probably. Yeah, I don't have one here. I have one at my studio, though. My studio is downtown, and that's where I do my work paintings. So most of my fancy stuff is there.
My mom just said that she did paintings of a canal,
Oh, that's lovely. So scenery, landscape paintings, landscape painters. I don't do very many landscapes. I like doing, I like painting characters and jellyfish. I like painting jellyfish.
I have 2 cats that's somewhere around here. Yeah, they're probably hiding from me.
Oh yeah, you have some cats too. I just have Milo and she's hiding too.
Yeah, named Frank and Moon.
That's cute.
Almost October.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, is one of your what did you say was named Frank?
My ginger cat.
My brother is named Frank.
Oh, I see. You signed your painting, Zoe. Zoe's painting is really pretty. I love it. And it looks so good. I'm so happy to see everyone's work. So that's pretty much it. We have 5 minutes left till 4 o'clock. If you guys want to take the wheel at this point, we are finished. If there are any other questions or if you need help with anything.
Oh, I'll just pop on here, and we do
Paige, good job.
The door prizes to do, and just before anyone leaves or pops off, I see some people need to go, but I just want to thank you very much. It was a lot of fun, and I know we had fun, and I hope everyone else had a good time as well. So thank you so much. It was, you know, the exhibitions were great, and there were some lessons in there as well. So thank you so much. And
You don't want to show yours?
oh, I have to show mine. Oh, okay, there's mine.
Oh, he's so cute. Oh, I love it. Oh, that one's so good too.
Thank you. Okay,
Oh,
so
you did the
ready?
holly in the hat too. Oh, it's so good. All right, we're picking door prize stuff.
Okay, so I have email addresses. So the first one, for a chapters gift card is actually Madame Racine. So she's one of the teachers at our school. She's doing it with her family. So congratulations to Madame Racine. No, she's not on today. She's going to do it tomorrow, I think, or another day. So just a reminder that if anyone is caught behind or they want to do it again with other kids or what have you, then it will be recorded. All right, and the next one will be also for chapters. We have anolian2020@gmail.com. So we'll reach out to that email address and we will let them know that they want a chapters gift card. And the last one, the last one's for Johnny Canuck. And so the 2 chapters ones are actually digital gift cards, so we will be sending those by email. The other one is a physical gift card, so we'll either send it home in a backpack or we'll figure out a way to get that to you. And it is stratford.jess@gmail.com. I don't know if you guys can even see these, but that's okay. So congratulations to all the winners, and I hope everyone had a good time. And I guess any last questions? I did see, Kina, that there was a question. Somebody asked how long you had been painting. I think you mentioned that, but I'm not sure. So maybe on a last note, if you want to say any last little notes, and then we can let everyone finish up. And I know our session ended at 4. So
Goodbye.
thank you very much. Goodbye.
Yes, I've been painting professionally, like as my only job, for about 6 or 7 years. But I also went to school for painting. So in high school, I went for 1 year. I did the Canterbury Arts Program, which maybe you have heard about. That's where it's a regular high school, but it has an arts program. So that's like 9th grade, I did painting. And then for university, I went to the University of Concordia, and I did painting and drawing as well. Lots of art.
Did you say you went to Concordia?
I did.
Oh, that's where my husband and I went to school.
No way! I graduated in 2009.
Okay, so I think I graduated from my master's in 2008, and he graduated in 2005 or 6.
Oh, that's awesome! I know, right? I applied for my master's and I had to remember, when did I go to school? You know? It's crazy. Yeah, it feels like a lifetime ago. It really was, because since then, like, had kids and got a house and moved to Ottawa.
I know, I agree.
Oh, it's so much fun. I know that I can add on here, but like I do have, I did mention in the email, I'm doing some markets, and I don't want to be like taking anything over, but I do have some kids activities that are free at the market with like some coloring pages and stuff. And if you guys want more info about that, you can contact the council for sure. But like I do have other stuff for kids, and over the holidays, it should be fun. I made a coloring book a few years ago, and it's a Christmas themed one. So I have like coloring pages I can give to you guys. If you
can email me the information, I can send it out. We have a school newsletter, so
perfect.
I'm happy to have the principal send that out, or I can send it out on behalf of council as well. So send me the information, and
great.
Definitely, I know everyone's always looking for some fun stuff to do, so I think it would be great.
Yeah, I have like, a whole bunch of stuff. I sell stuff around Christmas time, but I also know that people are out with their kids, so it's fun to have something for them to do. Thank you so much for having me, you guys. It was so much fun. Yeah, I was going to be like, oh, here's mine, but you can already see it.
Does anyone have any last questions or want to show off their painting one last time? If not, I think we'll say goodbye if everyone's done.
Time for cleanup. Our favorite part. Oh, that looks so good. Oh, the heart. I really like the heart on the hat. What a wonderful idea. So cute. Good job. Oh, we have a whole room full of painters here. On Heather's page. Oh my goodness, the snowmen popping up everywhere. That looks great. Oh, thank you so much for sharing, you guys. These look great. Those snowflakes are epic. That's like those days where the snow falls and the snowflakes are like the size of your thumb. It's awesome. I love it.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for painting.
Welcome.
Yeah, there's just some orange on there. Clean it on the face cream.
Oh, it's already getting dark. Oh.
Nobody's nervous.
I'm going to stop the recording now. All right? I don't know
Thank
how
you.
big it's going to be. Okay. I have a backup. I have 2 recordings. One is from Zoom and one is just from my microphone, just in case.
Oh, awesome.
So redundancies everywhere, because I have had sessions where it just like, oh, you lost everything, and I had to re-record the whole thing for a class
I know
once.
there's always something. We often do simultaneous translation, and there have been times where we just like never fails. Like,
Yep.
it doesn't matter how many times you do it. Sometimes it's like it's lost in the Zoom world of Zoom.
I almost even want like another camera like that's completely independent of everything just next to me, you know? Like catching all the details.
I mean, if on the off chance something happens, it's okay.
It's
We understand.
it's all good. I have 2 setups, so hopefully it's good. I've never done it through Zoom before, so hopefully that works. Because I normally stream through a different client where it's public. I go online on like twitch.tv and then it's like I just talk to the ether and whoever happens to joins. It's more like,
yeah, for sure.
you know, so that's what Zoom is a bit. I just love seeing people's faces and stuff. This is so much
Yeah, it's
nicer.
Ow.
Cool. Did you need me to stick around after everyone leaves or
I was
anything,
gonna
or are
say,
we good?
I think we're okay to hop off. I think the last few people are
Perfect.
just a little unsure whether we're done. Like, so we're done. So
It's done.
Yeah, no,
Done.
I can stop it or go for it and just stop the session. We're good. Thank you so much.
All right, no problem.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.